What's up, guys? What's up? All right, we're back. All right, what's up, White House? What's up, man? Zach, FIU beat us again. Now 6-5 on the midweek. Yeah, that's tough on the midweek. I saw the game. Um, Obviously pitching did well again, but it's just offense, right? Offense wasn't quite as good as it was against Georgia Tech. Oi, that goes help UM, or that doesn't help UM or Georgia Tech RPI. Yep. And just like that, Kyle, according to Zach and all the Miami fans, we're officially eliminated from the tournament. But to me, I'm not even stressing. We take care of ACC play. We're in, baby. That's right. I mean, I don't envision, like, if you're 15-15, you're in the ACC. Canes, but you're gonna have to listen to Danny Wexelman call all your games to do that. That is probably true. Not saying season is over, but now BC is a must-win. Yeah, it is. I mean, if you can sweep Georgia Tech, you can sweep Boston College, right? The question is the same team going to show up that showed up against Georgia Tech? Can't lose 2 out of 3 to BC. Yeah. I mean, you got to pay 500 ball the rest of the way in the ACC play, which is, I think, definitely doable for Miami. Like, it's not like you have to play out of your mind, but you got to play 500 ball. And certainly the series against Boston College looks like one you should win. So, I mean, Miami's just got to take care of business, right? But that sweep of Georgia Tech just made it to where, man, you're like, Miami controls its destiny. What numbers do you think pro guys would have with BB core bats? James Wood demolished the ball 116 off the bat. I mean, with BB core, yeah, I mean, it'd be ridiculous. And the reason is, again, there's not the thing about the metal bat is, one second. There's so much more forgiving. So when you get jammed with the metal bat or you hit it off the end, it doesn't kill the exit velocity as much off a metal bat as it does off a wood. So there's just way more forgiveness. Does RPI consider how close the wins and losses are? I don't believe so. Kyle, man, you guys are doing this to me again. Kyle, do you think some coaches are telling hitters to look breaking ball 3-2? I saw multiple FIU hitters take fastballs down the middle on 3-2 count. I would hope not. Like, I'm like anytime you have 2 strikes on you, you have to be in fight mode. You have to be in like fight off fastball mode, react off speed. You can't guess. Right? You can guess before 2 strikes, but with 2 strikes, you can't sit on a pitch because if you're wrong, you're out. Right? You got to give yourself a chance on all the pitches. BB core is theoretically the same responsiveness off the bat. However, the barrels are bigger. Yeah, barrels are bigger, and it's going to be they're more forgiving, right? From someone who's swung BB core and wood, like when you get jammed bad with a wood bat, it breaks. The ball goes nowhere. Get it off the end really bad. It breaks. It goes nowhere. With the metal bat, that doesn't happen. At least the vast majority of the time. Flying to Boston tomorrow, looking for a 2 out of 3 series win. Love that, Canes. I don't think so, Buck, because we've had some terrible blowout losses. Yeah. Going to be in the 50s, so we better be ready. Yeah, for real. Andrew Mestman. What's up, Andrew? Roster limits, what's going to happen? Well, I mean, according to the latest stuff coming out from the House settlement, the judge is not going to approve the House settlement unless the NCAA gives on grandfathering in currently rostered players. So I think roster limits will happen. They may be the people in charge of on the House side of things have said they're open to a slow rollout of decreased rosters. So you may see like in next year it's down to 38 or 36, and then the year after that it's 34. The roster limits are going to happen. It's just a question of, are the current players on a roster grandfathered in? We actually talked about this on our team meeting today, and our sense is that let's say even players are grandfathered in, right? They don't count against the 34 or whatever it ends up being. Coaches are still going to be like, well, if you're not going to play here, you probably should transfer. Like, they're not just going to be like, oh, we're going to keep these guys that are not going to play for us. So it's not going to, the feeling with our team is that it's not going to cause as much roster bloat as like the COVID eligibility did, because in this now, like, it's just kind of the norm that coaches are going to, or tell guys to transfer. So hopefully that answers your question, Andrew. Buck, bigger in the sense of the hit area, which produces high exit velocity. Yep. Yeah, it's more forgiving, and there's a bigger kind of sweet spot, is what you're saying, Buck. Dusty, we are live. Welcome, Dusty, finally. I didn't even have to text you, and you showed up. It's amazing. NFL draft and college baseball night. Oh, yeah, I forgot the NFL draft is tonight. And, like, let's look at the... Let's look at the score, what the series that are coming up tonight. You got Clemson, NC State. That's a big one at 7 o'clock. You got Oklahoma, Georgia at 7 o'clock. That's a big one. And you got Alabama, Missouri. Hopefully Missouri can get a win in SEC play. 0-18 right now. White House, if roster limits happen, what will teams do if they have the injury bug? Will they have club teams or taxi squads with players that can get called up? Dude, that's the next question. You know, and I haven't seen anything come out about that. We talked about that a while ago, White House, on stream and in some of my videos, but that hasn't really been discussed recently. I do think with players being grandfathered in, like, schools will be able to keep more players, so that would help. But certainly that's something that's got to be discussed, because if you have a team that really gets the injury bug bad, you know, how do they perform if they have like 6 or 7 pitchers go down? You know, it's like all of a sudden that becomes very hard to play a season with that many arms down. Battle of Florida is tonight. Nothing bigger than that. What's the Battle of Florida? A Miami Hurricane is going number 1 overall tonight. You think so? Number 1. How does Missouri keep getting on national TV? I just assume like you get each. I'm guessing that every SEC team gets like 1 or 2 national TV series a year. I'm sure that's like part of the deal. Did you also see the draft pool was announced yesterday? So much cash is available per team. I did not see that. White House, I think what some schools will do to be aggressive is that they will have some kids on academic or other scholarships that they pull in if necessary. The settlement is silent on this, though. Yeah, agreed, Buck. I have not seen anything. I haven't seen any party really bring that up, and it hasn't been talked about, and it's not in the settlement right now. So I think it's a big question mark on how they're going to do that. Yankees have no cash, $5.5 million only. Yeah, that's tough. Where did the Yankees pick? I don't see the Yankees drafting a high school player. I expect all college. Yeah, probably. If their pool is that low, they're 100% going to be college. Florida Panthers versus Tampa Bay Lightning. Hockey, okay. Carter Hayes, how was the dinner date? Well, it wasn't necessarily a date because my kids were there, but it was good. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I need Tallahassee to beat Northwest Florida once in 3 games. If that happens, Gulf Coast wins the Panhandle Conference. When did they play tonight, Zach? I'm going to look up NC State's numbers just to see how they've progressed since the beginning of the year when we were monitoring them and they were just playing really bad. All right, so NC State, let's see what the strength of their team is right now. So they have NC State has one guy hitting over 300. That's Chris McHugh. He's hitting 368. The rest of their team is 298 or lower. As a team, they're batting 286 as a team. They're OPSing less than 900 as a team. So this offense is still just kind of okay. Not doing anything crazy special. They have scored 316 runs in 39 games. So they've scored, around the 7 to 8 runs per game mark, which is solid. Don't do a lot on the base paths, only 27 stolen bases. They have a very good walks to strikeout ratio. They have 228 walks to 238 strikeouts. So they put the ball in play. They work a lot of walks. It's just their batting average is pretty low. That's really the one thing that's kind of different, and not where it needs to be. As far as pitching staff, Dominic Fritton and Ryan Marone have done really well. They're both in the 3 ERAs. They've thrown 56 and 57 innings in 10 starts. So almost all of their starters are averaging over 5 innings per start. Decent swing and miss, not walking a whole lot of guys. Number one arm out of the bullpen and maybe even becoming a starter. He's got 1 start in the year is freshman Anderson Nance. He's got a 2.9 ERA. In 39 and 2/3 innings, he's given up 33 hits, 9 walks to 38 strikeouts, so really doing a great job. Their pitching staff as a whole is pitching to a 4.98, which is okay. The pitching staff's kind of the same as the offense. It's like there's some things they doing pretty well, and there's some things they're just not doing as great, but they're playing really solid baseball right now. All right, let's catch up on this chat. That's what the cats in my name is for. The Florida Panthers. Jim Calls on Twitter posted the draft pool. Or Jim Callis, yeah. 1 game tonight and doubleheader Saturday. Northwest Florida won 18-11 against Tally Tuesday. White House, just hearing about all these pitching injuries, I feel it could get worse with roster limits. Teams will need their guys to pitch deeper into games, which could put more stress on arms. Well, you could think of it in multiple ways, White House. I mean, like a starter going 7 innings is not going to put too much more stress on the arm, and it's going to save the arms of the bullpen. So, like, it's a give and take. You know what I mean? Georgia taking Oklahoma down tonight. All right. Well, Georgia needs to start playing better. I mean, let me get this ad off of my screen. Georgia obviously is still playing well, but if you look at their last 10 games, they're 4-6. Last 10 games, 4-6. They're 10-8 in the SEC now, so they're right around 500. That's still good enough for 6th in the SEC, tied for 6th with Ole Miss and Oklahoma. But certainly, like, this is probably one Georgia needs to win if they're going to continue to lock down a host spot. I'm curious if you've ever seen Morehead State baseball field. It's 250 to all. It's 250 all to right field because they have an endangered salamander pond behind the fence. Oh my God. I did not know that. That is ridiculous. Tyson, 2025 grad who has decided to go the JUCO route while finishing up senior year. What should my son be focusing on? Well, I mean, I don't know what his position is and all that, but play a good competition this summer. Like, be prepared going into that freshman fall. The problem that a lot of guys do is they commit and they're like, well, I've never really got a summer like all my friends who don't play baseball, so I'm going to do that. And then they show up freshman fall, which is the where you make your first impression, where most guys' career in college baseball, generally speaking, is decided that freshman fall. Are they going to show up prepared and look like they can be a contributor for the team, or is the coaching staff going to be like, man, he doesn't look good, and then they're written off? So work even harder is what I would say. Work even harder. Prepare for that freshman fall. Be 100% ready to perform and produce the moment you step on campus. Come to Gulf Coast in Panama City, Tyson, one of the best JUCOs in the country. Kyle, can you share anything about head coach movement? I mean, I think it's something that I think it's a lot of stuff that everyone kind of knows. I mean, a lot of word going around is that Mississippi State may be on the hot seat. And again, like when one big job opens up, it's a domino effect because then another head coach is hired and that spot opens and another head coach is hired. And then all of a sudden, I mean, it's just domino, domino, domino. Assistants are hired, different assistants. So the likelihood, oh geez, let me turn this music off. I don't know why it does that. There's going to be a lot of movement this summer. We actually talked about that a lot on the meeting today as well, just because one of the things we have to do is we have to be ahead of the game and knowing what's going on so that we can update our coach's contact sheet. We have a spreadsheet with coaches' contacts all over the country, and so that's something. Summer for us, we got to keep that updated. So we have to know who's moving, where they're moving, update here. Okay, let's figure out, all right, who's going to be hired at this spot. Let's try to get there, make sure we have everyone. And then if there's a new coach hired that is coming from pro ball or coming from it, let's try to get his contact. So we have to stay on top of things as well. Go Google Morehead State baseball field. In its dimensions. Okay. Yeah, but they can drink more beer than most of the other freshman baseball guys. What are you talking about, Dust? What is that in? I don't know who you're in reference to. It looks like a field I would create in a video game. But Kyle, how can they show up prepared if coaches don't allow freshmen to play summer ball? Well, I mean, that's a good question, Canes. I mean, if they're not allowed to play summer ball and they have to show up for like a summer semester, it makes it more difficult. You think Lamona's getting fired? Get real. I'm just saying that's word around from coaches everywhere. And you think about it like this, Dust. I think, I mean, those guys, we have a really good relationship with those guys. At some point, Mississippi State's expectations are College World Series, right? And the last 4 years, they hadn't been good. And it's just like making a regional is they're 6-12 in the SEC right now, so there's a legitimate chance they don't make the postseason. And the expectations of Mississippi State are very big. You're getting too long-winded with each answer, Kyle. My previous comment was in reference to the guys who don't play coming into their freshman season. Yeah, they're out all. Okay, I get it now. Yeah, they're out all summer and partying and doing that, and like usually those guys don't find a way on the field their freshman year. He was on the hot seat last year, though, Dusty. They won it in 2021. Clown comment. Yeah, but the problem is this, Dusty. This is the issue. What a lot of people say, and I can just tell you because I've seen this and I've heard this from coaches and from a bunch of other people, is that if you look at that 21 team, a lot of the players were not recruited by the staff. So they won it kind of without their own players. And then over the last 4 years, you just look over the last 4 years, what's happened. They've been basically bottom of the SEC, even with solid teams. So I hope it doesn't happen. I'm just saying that's what I'm hearing. Is that there's serious pressure at Mississippi State right now. Do you think Mike Bell survives at Pitt? I don't know. The question at Pitt is like, what's the expectations of the AD and the administration at Pitt? Because the reality is Pitt's a very tough place to win at in the ACC. And so it's just a matter of expectations, that's it. But we did talk about that as well. Well, hey, Kyle, what do you think helped you go from college to SU? What helped you go from college to SU? I played 2 years at JUCO and one at a D2 school. I got drafted by the Marlins, but got cut 5 months later. Oh, helped you go from college to success in pro ball? I think one, playing in that dead ball era with when the bats just changed, it wasn't a huge adjustment offensively because the ball went nowhere in college at that point. So when you got to pro ball, it wasn't like this massive difference in how the ball's coming off your bat. So like the base hits and doubles and triples I was hitting in college were also base hits, doubles, and triples in pro ball. But I think again, I had a really good approach as a hitter, so that helps. Like knowing what you're looking for, knowing how to adjust. Um, and again, it's when there's politics in pro ball as well. Like what you sign for has an impact on how much pressure is on you right away. I was an 8th round pick, so I mean, I definitely was not going to get cut like after my first spring training. But so I mean that has something to do with it as well. Um, it's different for everybody, but I think I mean, listen, I grew up around the professional game, so I knew what to expect. I knew what was expected of me. Um, and it wasn't like a huge culture shock when I got to pro ball, just because I knew what to expect. Let's wager it then, Kyle. I don't know if that's something I can do, Dusty. What do you want to wager? Canes, without revealing sources, are you hearing that from college coaches, advised like yourself, high school college coaches, multiple guys have said that. Um, and like I'm not going to get into the domino effects that I've been told as well, like who could potentially get that job, and then who would take the job of the guy that's taken that, like the Mississippi State job. Like, I mean, a lot of times these things are, let's just say these things get done way before you think they do. So there's a good chance that, like right now at this part of a season, if an AD thinks that you're going to move on from a coach, like they're already looking for a replacement right now. Dude, your answers are too long-winded. Leaving now. Shut up. Shut up. You won't even tell me what you want to wager. Now we need to answer, why are they telling you this? It's just because coaches talk, man. Like coaches, and like this is what you have to understand is coaches are always looking to upgrade, right? They're always looking to go to a bigger school, get more money, just like anyone else in any job. So if coaches get wind and they have other friends that are other coaches at like maybe a lower level, and they get wind of like, oh yeah, this guy you're good friends with, I'm hearing he's going to be a front runner for this job if it opens. Well, then they let that guy know so he can contact him. So he can be like, hey man, I'm hearing you may get this job, like I'm interested in coming with you. So like coaches talk about that stuff all the time. Do they want their recruits, players, the job? It's usually helping each other out is what it is. Like if they know a job's opening up and they're like, hey, I'm hearing this job's opening up, just so you know, right? So you can be ready to call and text who you need to call to put your name in, stuff like that. And that's not as much for the head coach jobs, because AD is going to do that, but it's more for like the assistant roles that are going to be needed, that are going to be filled. So it's a lot of times as coaches just helping each other out, is what that conversation is. So like, I don't talk about that with a lot of the coaches I know. It's only with the guys I have the best relationships with, that know I can trust them. And like, I'm not going to go like spilling everything. I think it's pretty clear, like Mississippi State, like Lamonis has been in the hot seat now for at least a year. So that's one that like, nobody needs me to break that. I mean, everybody kind of knows that. Do the coaches know they are on the hot seat from the AD, et cetera? Do they have the conversations, or are they tight-lipped to the head coach? It depends. I'm definitely, some ADs are like, hey, like you need to win this year. Hey, what we did last year can't happen again this year. That's a pretty obvious sign that, if that same thing happens, they're going to be moving on. So it depends. I mean, it's like any job, Coog. It's the same thing. It's the same dynamic. You have ADs that are really good at communicating with coaches and letting them know where they're at, and just saying, hey, listen, like we got to win this year. We got to host a regional this year. We got to do this. And then you have some ADs or like some bosses who don't let you know anything, and then at the end of the season, you're gone. So it's different everywhere else, or different at any place. Time to recruit their players. Let's get on it. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's also interesting because in our job, what you'll find is like, let's say you're texting a guy who is projected to be like a coaching candidate this summer, and they say something like, "We're not looking, we're not going to be looking at anybody right now until the end of the year," and you're like, "Oh, okay, is that because school's already talking to you about interviewing?" You know, it's just stuff like that. So you kind of can read between the lines sometimes. When I or any of our advisors talks with a coach, you can kind of read between the lines that like something may be going on. Again, sometimes it's just that that's what they're going to do. Sometimes there's something going on. I mean, we talked about it again today as well. It's extremely weird that D1 baseball has not put out a hot board for Georgia Tech. I don't remember a school, especially as big a job as Georgia Tech, open or going to be opening up, and there not being a hot board for it. You know what I mean? And every coach I talk to about it says the same thing, man. Super tight lipped. Nobody knows what's going on. Um, and so it's like, why? Why is they give you hints. They give you hints. BRB, no problem. White House. I think Missouri job opens also. Yeah, I mean, again, it's like, what are the expectations at Missouri? I'm sure it's certainly more than winning 0 games. The question is just like, what are the expectations at any school, guys? The question is always, what's the expectation, right? Because at some schools, like even if it's ridiculous, they expect them to like make it to a regional or be a regional host, even though it's ridiculous. At some schools, they realize like, hey, it's, with the amount of support you get in this conference, it's going to be really tough. So it just depends on that. I can be convinced either way for the Georgia Tech job. What do you mean by either way? Some points are made that are strong for JR, and then you have to understand it's a national search. Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, it's like every coach I've talked to has said the same thing. It's I think JR is a front runner, but like that doesn't mean anything. It's like if they're doing a national search and they're interviewing guys, like all it takes is one guy to come in and really impress, and then it's different. I have a sleeper for a top 4 SEC job if it opens. Dan McDonnell, book it. For which job? They should go with the Troy coach. Don't make the mistake we made. Agree, Kane. Skylar Mead would be my top choice at Georgia Tech. All right. Well, so unfortunately what I'm hearing is that he may be headed to a different school in the SEC. Even though I'm pushing the JD propaganda at the moment, UNLV needs to move on from their current head coach. I think listen, in our meeting today we talked about it again because like we have to keep up with what moves are being made and everything. Our sense is that there will be a lot of movement this summer. There's going to be a lot of movement. Um, because there's a lot of guys that have kind of been on the hot seat since the COVID stuff, and they were kind of given a pass because of COVID. Why is that unfortunate? What's unfortunate? What did I say? I'm asking what Dan McDonald's, what opening is Dan McDonald going to be there for? Not Mississippi State, Zach. Dusty, which school do you think is going to go after McDonald? How has Meade made this big push as a rising star in the industry? I don't really get it. I think he was considered a really good recruiter at South Carolina. He's coached. I mean, he played at Louisville. I think he coached at Louisville. And like he's just turned Troy into a top 25 mid major in the last 3 years. Made one regional. Yeah, but it's a mid major, dude. It's like they're in the top 25 right now. He's a skip for me. I mean, so in his first year at Troy, they went 32 and 24, 15 and 15 in conference. Second year, 40 and 22, 18 and 12 in conference. Yet last year, 37 and 22, 18 and 12 in conference. So it's just he's turned them into top of the conference team every year. And he's recruited a lot of really good players. I mean, as far as you don't think he's top 5? A lot in the ACC or SEC and any in the Big 12. I just think, generally speaking, Coog, it's not talking about one conference or the other. It's more just like generally speaking. I don't even know if he's a top 5 for me now that I'm thinking. Is he for you? Yeah, I think he is. I think he is. I think he's going to be a candidate. I mean, from what I'm hearing, he could be a head coach in the SEC next year. All right, but what you have to understand, Dusty, is like we got to do this now. So Dusty, can make sure Dusty understands. All right, so we're talking about the Sun Belt Conference, who is the 5th best conference in college baseball. All right, now 5 years ago, who's better, Coastal Carolina or Troy? Coastal Carolina. Southern Miss or Troy? Southern Miss. Louisiana Lafayette or Troy? Louisiana Lafayette. Georgia Southern or Troy? Georgia Southern. South Alabama or Troy? South Alabama. Texas State or Troy? Texas State. So what I'm saying is, like, the really good mid majors that have fill up the Sun Belt now are Troy's all of a sudden jumped ahead of them. So it's not like he took over like one of the best programs in the Sun Belt. He's turned him into that. Just because he's a candidate elsewhere doesn't mean he's good. I didn't say that. I'm just saying he's going to be a top candidate in a lot of places. So what? You get hot in one conference tournament over 4 years and you're a front runner for head coach? Well, what's the other criteria? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get from you, Dusty. Is like, what is the criteria that boost your resume as far as becoming a head coach in the Power 4? Is it because you can't just hire other head coaches in the Power 4? You can, but I'm saying, okay, outside of those candidates, how does another candidate prove themselves? Like, okay, there's going to be some assistants that are going to be head coaching candidates. So, like at a mid major in a really good conference, and he's turned them into a top of the conference team every year. Dusty. It would hold it some weight if they were consistently winning the conference. A 5-game stretch doesn't do anything for me. A 5-game stretch? All right, so let's look at the recent history of Troy. For the most part, in the last 2 decades, Troy has been a 500-ish team with every once in a while having a really good year. And then in the last 3 years, they've gone 40 and 22, 37 and 22, and they're 29 and 12 right now. A 5-game stretch, Kyle. How do you think they got in their singular regional? Got hot in the conference tournament. All right, but that's kind of what most mid-majors have to do, right? Are people putting too much into the LSU loss on Tuesday? Yes, Manny. 100%. 100%. What I miss? We're just talking about coaches. You shouldn't have done this deep dive. I wouldn't touch him with a 10 feet pole. Give me Rammer, baby. I don't disagree with you, man. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you reasons why people view him as like a top head coaching candidate. I'm not giving my opinion on the matter. I'm just saying this is what people are saying. But I'm not. I'm saying I mean I agree with you, man. I mean but that's the thing is we kind of have to guess and like figure out who the potential candidates would be who are interviewed. When usually Kendall Rogers is sending out mass texts like, "Hey, who do you think is going to be the next head coach of Georgia Tech? Who are they interviewing? Who are the guys they're probably going to go after?" And then they post an article, and we have a general idea of who the candidates may be, but we don't have that anywhere. Looking to see some fireworks with Texas and A&M. Wonder if it gets chippy or chirpy or chippy. It 100% will get chippy. 100%. 100%, dude. It's gonna be really fun to watch. Kyle, answer this. Would you rather have a mid-major head coach who has won the regular season 4 out of 5 years, or the mid-major coach who consistently finished third and won one conference tournament? Well, it depends on what conference the coach is in. I mean that matters, right? Like which mid-major conference are we talking about? What team? Stuff like that. I love dunking on you, man. I don't know how you dunk though. I don't know what coach are you talking about from what conference? Because not all conferences are the same. Dusty, I need to know. Can you give me information on which conference you're talking about and what school? Who has won 4 regular season tickets in 5 years? That's what I know. Canes. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, I don't know if he just made it up. Like, this is we're not talking hypotheticals here. I need to know who you're talking about. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put out an actual big board and look at some candidates. To hell with D1 baseball. Don't need them. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, man. Like every coach I talk to is like they can't believe that there hasn't been one single like article out about it in what, over a month now since DH announced it. I already made a big board for Miami. If you want to look at it, Kyle, yeah, send it my way. I just want to see what kind of madness is in this thing. Bold prediction: I think North Carolina State upsets Clemson. I got that feeling as well, Zach. I'll ride that one with you. I made a big board 3 weeks ago for the public to see, and we have turned it around ever since. Dude, I just typed in Danny Hall on D1 baseball, and there's not even an article about him announcing his retirement. Unless it's just not popping up. I'm not seeing it. Our recruiting coordinator even sent me his resume. Stop. Kyle, do you think Georgia Tech has to go with a young guy, or any chance they're going to go old Grasshopper who's proven? I don't think they go old Grasshopper. Um, it's just again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's just not the way any of these hirings are going now. Unless he's just like a proven complete star, a lot of schools are just headed with like again, like the Tony Vitellos, who's like a younger guy. Like they're going with younger guys. So that would my prediction would be a guy who's somewhat young. That doesn't mean like what I mean by that is like probably like in his 30s to 40s. You sent me the big board. I gotta proofread this thing first, Canes. All right, so there's Kyle, do you think Georgia Tech has to go young? Okay, yeah. JD's getting a year 3. I think so too. I just sent you the big board. Kyle, here's a GT sleeper you might appreciate. Oh, I can't wait. No joke. Well, Professor Rosenthal was the one who sent it to me. I really thought it was him because he only lives 2-3 minutes from my house. Professor Rosenthal has known our recruiting coordinator since he was born. He used to sit in the seat I currently sit in at the light. Nice. Ty McGahee at Florida State, Skylar Mead, Dan Hefner. I don't think Dan Hefner would go to Miami, but who knows? Nick Schnabel, recruiting coordinator at Clemson. Good idea. Elander, top recruiter, top developer of hitters. I sense prying him out of the SEC may be tough. Played at TCU, Tennessee recruiting coordinator. Say no more. If we were going to go with Mead, give me Alex Sogard. Yes, Sogi's brother. So Eric Sogard's brother? The old Wright State? Okay. I just don't see that happening. I mean, I think that's a sleeper, but I mean, he's done a great job at Wright State. I'm trying to see where did he. So he became an assistant at Wright State and then got the head coach job in 2019. Wow, that was a quick turnaround. Like basically 1 or 2 years of assistant coach, and then he's a head coach. Sogard's resume is way better than Mead's. I mean, it's certainly up there. I think again, like the conference is not quite the same as far as competition and stuff, but he's performed as a head coach 100%. His draft resume is really impressive in my opinion. Elander first 2 recruiting classes were really good. I didn't do the third recruiting class because that class is currently playing. Do you think the Missouri will finish the year with no SEC wins? Man, it would be hard for me to believe they can't pull out 1 win. So I'm going to go with they do not finish with 0 wins. Tube taking Clemson to a new level. They've taken Clemson to a new level, 100%. I like the Clemson recruiting coordinator. Yeah. I mean, Schnabel's great. I mean, they've done a great job at Clemson. Like instant turnaround at Clemson. People should see Mead walk on water. Did Skylar Mead say something bad about Dusty? I don't know. It seems like it, doesn't it? But that's an interesting pick, Dusty. That's an interesting pick. I don't know if there's any connection to Georgia Tech, though, Dusty. Is there a connection to Georgia Tech at all? No, don't know him at all, Zach. Just like to educate Kyle when he needs it. Nothing personal here. Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. The stuff I put up with in this chat. Unbelievable. People in that thread also want Pollard, but I asked them what has he done and developed since Pollard left. Question I actually want to know, but no one gave me the answer. Or Josh Jordan. Yeah, I mean, Josh Jordan's an interesting one too, right? Josh Jordan's an interesting one. I've heard his name around Georgia Tech because one, what he did at Duke as a recruiting coordinator. I have heard that. I also did hear this past week that Pollard turned down the Miami job already, like in years past. Pollard would be great. I really like him. I think there's a lot. There's going to be. I mean, it's just like there's going to be a lot of candidates that pop up to mind. It's just again, we don't have any. No one. There's nothing. Nothing is being said. No one in the baseball media world is saying anything. Kyle, would you go with a young, proven recruiting coordinator or a proven head coach? It's just it's tough, man. Because again, like I think generally speaking, you go with a proven head coach. But there are some assistants out there who you could have like a Tony Vitello situation where Tony Vitello wasn't a head coach. Tennessee hired him, and now look where they're at, right? And that's probably the outlier. But so you can't just go into something thinking we're just only hiring a proven head coach. Like if an assistant gets interviewed and you're like, man, I think he's the one. you gotta go with it. But I want to risk it. Kane says, boys, Duke was so bad before Pollard. It was an auto sweep. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Duke was not good. They didn't make a regional. It had been since 1968 that Duke had played in a regional before Pollard took over. Risk it for multiple rings, and that is Elander. That would be bad news for Miami. He didn't turn it down. He is upset that they were wasting his effing time. I mean, maybe. Do you think this is an error? I was watching Florida Mississippi State last weekend, and Brody Dene hits a 110 mile per hour ground ball that kicks out of the glove of their shortstop. Nope, not an error. Right, and I think John Kruk had a great clip of this. He was like, "I don't care how hard the ball's hit. You're a major league shortstop, or you're a shortstop. You're supposed to be the best defender on the field. If the ball is hit to you, it hits off your glove. It's an error." Like so, there's not a point where it's like, oh well, that ball was hit way too hard. It can't be an error. It's like, no, that's BS. Pollard's taken Duke to multiple super regionals and won the ACC. Duke was so awful before he got there. 100%. They interviewed him just to hire JD. They wasted his time. I do not want to see Josh Jordan in the ACC unless it's Miami. He is a demon on the recruiting trail. He is a demon on the recruiting trail. I can just tell you that from experience because I was last year in the middle of the season. I was in Hoover, Alabama, watching a tournament, and on like a Wednesday, and Josh Jordan's out in Hoover recruiting, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be out here for the night, and then I'll drive back to the airport, fly back for the series." And it's like there's not many other coaches doing that. There's not. Kyle, have you checked the GT chat boards? I have not. There's a name buzzing that we haven't talked about yet. Well, bring it up. Let's see. Jeremy Shear, welcome to the chat, Jeremy. How would you advise a freshman high school player to choose between riding Pine for a state champ run or starting national summer ball tourneys? Dude, ride the Pine for the state champion run. Like the national summer ball tourneys for freshmen in high school do not mean anything. You can't even communicate with a coach until after after your sophomore summer. So, dude, get the champion, get the experience of playing with the state championship and on a team, whether you're on the bench or not. I would 100% advise to. Um, now I see what Dusty said. Like play with the state championship team, Jeremy. GT chat boards, where are those? Dude, Dusty's in all the chat boards. I want to be begged. Dusty, please, pretty please, Dusty, will you please say the name that is being said on the chat boards? Somebody clip that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the state of Florida right now watching kids. Dude, I'm telling you, that guy, I see him everywhere. Joe Urso. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his name gets thrown around all the time because of what he's done at Tampa. But I don't know. I just don't know if it's a fit. I think Georgia Tech's kind of one of those schools like they're gonna want a guy who has an experience with like a high academic school. I think that's why guys like Josh Jordan, Ramsey, obviously, Pollard, get thrown around. Joe Urso was actually in our thread. Nice. Yeah, I mean, certainly you would think so. I mean, what he's done at Tampa. I mean, Tampa is just like the best program in D2 for a long time. I just found out Kyle and Dusty played together at Georgia Tech. Yes, unfortunately. We were in the same recruiting class. And then we lived together when we were playing pro ball in the offseason. We would get like an 800 square foot apartment in Atlanta for like $500 a month. What about the UConn coach? I mean, dude, there's so many candidates. Again, the thing typically with coaches, you want guys that have connections to the region, that the guys that have um, the right connections with travel ball teams and everything. So regionally, you kind of want to coach that regionally makes sense. Um, you're not. I would be very surprised, like if Georgia Tech hired a coach that's been in California for the last 10 years. Just wouldn't make sense. And it's same is kind of true for the Northeast. It's just like doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it doesn't make as much sense. Dusty forgot to mention a secret candidate. Why has no one mentioned him yet? All right, well, tell us, Canes. If something terrible were ever to happen to Kyle, I am legally responsible to care for his eldest child. Yeah, Dusty is the godfather of my firstborn son. If you can believe that, is to raise him in the faith. You want someone with experience at a high level academic school? Only one option. JD Arteaga, like Poman said, why not hire JD? I guess we could throw that in there, Canes. Thanks for that. Yeah, I like JD too. Like I think, and again, Zach, like we've had this conversation, and Canes, we've had this conversation, but um, what you have to understand is that like sometimes it takes a couple years for a coach to get like the program moving in the right direction. Yeah, like this is the thing, guys. Let's be completely honest with Miami's overall roster. If you took that roster and said, "All right, what's their conference record at the end of the year?" You'd say 8-22, 9-21, 10-20. They're 9-9 right now. They're 9-9. They have way more. And again, I'm not saying the season hasn't had ups and downs, but where they stand right now, all of you guys right here, if you were told at the beginning of the season with 12 games left to play in ACC, you're 9-9, you would all be like, okay, that's solid. Especially with how difficult the early part of the ACC schedule was for Miami. And it's like what I've said is coming to fruition. Miami is better than you think. And again, the offense is concerning, but they're finding ways to win. And this part of their schedule is where they can make some moves up the ladder, and they're doing that. So midweeks are still unacceptable, but again, like that's the thing with this Miami team is you don't necessarily have the depth to win a lot of midweek games. And especially the midweeks that you play in Florida. I mean, it's like you're playing just really good teams, no matter if they're Florida, FSU, or the other mid majors. Um, Even though we talk about mid majors being good baseball, end of the day, we're Miami and they're FIU. But dude, you're not Miami of like 2006, of the early 2000s. You're not. It's not the same thing. And mid majors are way better than they've ever been. I'm not saying Miami shouldn't win most of its midweeks, but like it's not a cakewalk like it used to be. Give JD an extension. Oh, Zach's trolling. Here we go. Remember, there are coaches who are going to be successful in almost any situation. Example, Schloss, and they are very few, 100%. Others can be successful, but it's situation dependent, i.e. admin support, recruiting. Exactly. I disagree. FIU is a bad team. It doesn't matter if they're a bad team. What matters is that FIU 10 years ago has way less talent on its roster, generally speaking, than they do now. Right? And you're gonna be like, well, 10 years ago they were hosted a regional, and be like, okay, well, you know what I meant is that generally speaking, a decade and a half ago, mid majors were not nearly as deep as they are now. And Miami is not quite the national power that it used to be. I agree, but still need to be better in midweeks. And I agree with everything you said. And even out of JD's mouth, he agrees with you. Like, guys, with that roster at Miami, no offense, if they finished 8-22, I would not be surprised with how bad the offense is. Because it gives so much room for it gives so little room for error for the pitching staff, and we've seen that. But when the offense puts up some runs, like Miami can beat anybody. Like that's the thing. Their pitching staff is they figured out who their weekend rotation is, and like if they had Siskar in the rotation and Hughes on Friday at the beginning of the year, who knows what would have happened? He told me mid majors were only going to get better and better. Yeah, I mean it's 100% sure, 100% true. So what should our expectations be going forward? I mean, well, the expectations are this: you hope that next year you can be a little bit better than you were this year. So if you're 15-15 at the end of this season in conference, you're hoping that maybe next year you're 16-14 or you're 17-13, and then you see consistency in that department. Do we ever get back to being an elite program? Can't answer that. Can't answer that. From one of the coaches at Miami to someone privately, they said last year's team had more talent. This year's team is more together as a unit. Yeah. I mean, like from the on the offensive side of things, there's not a whole lot of talent. I mean, there's really not. There's just it's one of the worst lineups in the ACC, but they're 9-9. They have the same record as Virginia, who is the number 2 projected team in the country. Like, I'm just trying to make you guys understand. It's like you guys could very easily have like five wins in conference right now, and you got 4, and you got 9. Like Miami has a better record right now in conference than Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, and they're tied with Virginia. And they're a game behind Louisville. So like crazy. When will Maryland be an elite program? I think they were headed. I mean, again, I think the NIL and the portal stuff has hurt Maryland because now the best players up there are a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are just going down to the SEC and the ACC. Is Miami going to commit to 34 scholarships? I think, yeah, they're going to 22, which is really solid. 22. Where is the NIL coming from? Canes can answer that. Maryland never should have let Sheck, I can never say Sheck, leave. He's a heck of a coach, man. I think he rubs some people the wrong way, but he's a really good coach. We had 1.2 million in NIL this season, Buck, and only spent 600K because no one wanted to come. So for us to be 9-9 and 50 to 60% chance to make the regional is incredible, actually. Yeah. Clemson had 1.5 to 2 million, Buck. Yep. Kyle, do you know Rob Vaughn at all? Thoughts? I don't know him very well. Obviously, I know the guys at Maryland pretty well. When I've dealt with guys at Alabama, it's been mostly Jackson, who's been there a long time. But I don't know. I don't have like a super close relationship with Rob Vaughn. I've talked with him sparingly, but that's it. We are number 2 in ACC for NIL. Yeah, so that means Canes, like if you have a decent finish this year, you make the tournament, Miami should be able to make a splash in the portal next year. Like if you have that much NIL money, Miami should be fine next year if they can get the right guys. I've watched a few of the Corona high school games, and 6 of their top 7 lineup are PG-10s, and all of them are committed to SEC schools. We'll see how many make it there versus draft, but to the point, the SEC is pulling all the top players, not only on rep, but also on NIL. Yep. Have to go. Will there be a stream later tonight? There will not. I have a neighborhood poker game tonight. So wish me luck, boys. I think after the season, we should be able to spend all that NIL. They can see the development with Siskar and Darius. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Pitchers, I think, will come now. Buck, we lost to Corona 4-1 in the round 2 of the USA tournament. They aren't very good, in my opinion, as a team. Canes is always underplaying everybody. All right, guys, I gotta go. I will see you guys again tomorrow for a stream. We'll do a night stream tomorrow as well. Thanks for all the support, all the comments. Again, I enjoy doing this and just getting to talk to you guys every day. So